Welcome everyone to our alumni panel, Life After University by the Faculty of Management. I am Shatakshi Gambhir, a second year BCom student and one of your hosts for today. I am joined by our other host, Katie Haig, who is the Global Experience Manager within the faculty. I would like to start today by acknowledging that Dalhousie is located in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq, and we are all treaty people. We recognize that African Nova Scotians are distinct people whose histories, legacies, and contributions have enriched that part of Mi'kma'ki known as Nova Scotia for over 400 years. I would now like to introduce our panelists. We are lucky and grateful to have four of our alumni, all who joined the Housey as international students and have gone on to successful careers throughout the world. Let me first introduce you to Santiago Bueno, a 2009 BCom grad, Moritz Gobel, a 2008 BCom grad, then we have Sarat Sasidharan, a 2017 BCom grad, and lastly Wendy Zhao, who is also a 2017 BCom grad. A big thank you to all of you for being here. So why don't we start with each panelist giving us a short introduction and telling us where they're from, where they're living now, and what they're currently doing for work. Santiago, would you like to go first?
Hi, everyone. As they just mentioned, my name is Santiago Bueno. I'm originally from Colombia, Cali, Colombia, in South America. Currently based in New York City, and I'm currently the co-founder and CEO of Lati, which is a tech platform connecting construction material users in the United States with manufacturers down in Latin America. So it's all about nearshoring.
Can we have Moritz next?
Sure. So nice to meet you, everyone. Moritz Goebel. I am 38 years old, married and have 3 kids, live in beautiful Hamburg, Germany, as you can see in my background. And I graduated in 2008 with a Bachelor of Commerce in major in marketing and logistics. And I'm currently working as the Managing Director of Grants.
Thank you so much. Sarat?
Hi everyone, my name is Sarat Sasidharan, and right now I'm staying in India. I'm just vacationing, but I'm originally from India, lived in Halifax for the past 12 years. I'm currently working as a manager for the Scotia Securities dealer at Scotiabank, and I've been there for the past 7 years, I should say, and that's basically it.
Thank you. And Wendy?
Hi everyone, my name is Wendy, and I'm a BCommerce graduate from 2017. I moved to Toronto last summer, so I'm currently living in Toronto right now. I've been in Halifax after graduation for 5 years, and I moved to Toronto last year. So right now I'm working as a finance and investment associate at Agent Partners. So we are a small venture firm mainly investing in early stage medical device and digital health companies, and then help entrepreneurs develop and then push their companies to future exit. That's it.
It's amazing. Thank you so much. So my next question is that we would love to know about your journey since university. So feel free to jump in, whoever wants to go first.
No, I'm happy to start.
Sure.
I graduated in '09, went to work for KPMG as an auditor, but that was a short stint. I only did it for about a year. I quickly realized I liked finance more, so I ended up working in the mid-market investment bank of KPMG, focused on mining M&A. At that time in the world, kind of like the mining super cycle exploded. So I was kind of scratching my head, what is the next challenge? And renewable energy was becoming a thing in Canada. So I pivoted to renewable energy. I ended up spending almost a decade in renewables. That took me throughout the world. Spent some time, obviously, in Canada, developing solar and wind. Then ended up in the Netherlands, where I was spearheading the development of offshore wind in the North Sea as part of a consortium with Siemens as well as Deme Group. Then I was relocated to Rhode Island, where I was once again looking at offshore wind in the United States. Then my last stint was creating the business unit for Northland Power in Latin America. So we created an energy trading company in Mexico, as well as an energy developer, a transmission and distribution developer, and we ended up acquiring the fourth largest distribution company in the country. I led that deal. It was about a $1.1 billion deal. After that, I decided I loved building things, and I wanted to kind of stay in this more, adventurous company building side of things. So I went and did my MBA. I graduated from the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania, and I joined a mid-market company based out of Toronto with the backing of a Boston private equity firm, where I helped get the company organized and ready for an exit process. So over a period of a year, basically was working on from everything from like marketing and sales to operations and finance, and led the exit of the private equity over to Mondelez for $1.1 billion, sorry, for $1.2 billion. And after that, I ended up taking a role as the CFO of one of the leading construction tech startups in Latin America. Did that for about 2 years. And then I had a pretty awesome idea. Well, I think I have a pretty awesome idea. And as of September, I quit my job, did some fundraising from folks like Wendy, but in the construction tech space here in America. And yeah, launched Lati in September. We're now about 10 employees, split out between Canada, the United States, Colombia, and Argentina. But yeah, it's a little bit about me.
Yeah, maybe I'll go next. So following that trend, so after I graduated in 2008, major in marketing logistics, I decided that logistics is actually the field I want to go into. So I actually ended up started working in for Avato, which is a subcompany of the Bertelsmann Media Group. So it's an outsourcing company, business process outsourcing. Started as simple project management, really, in logistics processes for large telco communications companies like Vodafone, Telefonica, O2, which are the big MNOs in Europe. And then went on to actually do a turnaround, which was probably one of the largest challenges because I was just 1 year on the job. I was 24 and they gave me 80 employees in real operations doing a turnaround project, which I finished 2 years later. And so I spent about 7 years ending up with a team driving the business development. And after those 7 years in corporate world, so to speak, because so Bertelsmann has 100,000 employees worldwide, it's a rather large corporation. I decided it's time to have more freedom, and as you said, Santiago, to have like to build something, and not just manage something or redo something that has been already there somehow. And so I decided to go into small medium enterprise and joined a company that was originally doing around 50 million euros, and then was split up over several processes of divesting or investing from family business. So that was a very exciting time. And now we're happily, clearly structured. So we have 3 entities, in total 60 employees. And I'm responsible now for one of them as managing director. Used to be actually all 3. I'm very happy I just have 1 now, which is Grants. And so we have 30 people doing all kinds of consumer electronic products with great brands and also other brands that we distribute all through Europe, and creating new products every year that we enlighten customers with.
I can go next. So during university, actually, I used to work at Scotiabank as a teller. And after graduation, there was the opportunity to either go back to Scotiabank, or also I had the opportunity to go work for a fund administration firm in Halifax called SSNC. Back then, they were called Conifer. So I took the stint at SSNC, worked as a fund administration, And then it was middle back office analyst role, and I enjoyed it. It was definitely an eye-opening experience because I learned a lot about the hedge fund administration services, but also learned that what is not a right fit for me. So I did go back to Scotiabank. So I went back to Scotiabank. I worked as a customer-facing financial advisor, and then I had a 1-year stint over there. And then through that process, I found the opportunity to work on the sort of in the back end from a compliance perspective, where from a regulatory standpoint, what kind of operations take place. So I took on the role as a compliance supervision specialist, which was again fascinating because it opened up a lot of eyes as to how a mutual fund industry is regulated, and also how basically there are so many opportunities within that compliance and the regulatory field within the banking industry. So post after that, I had the opportunity to work as a manager for the Scotia Securities Dealer. So basically what that is it's something I learned through the process. Basically, it is for any bank to be able to provide mutual funds to the customer, to the clients, it has to come through a dealer. So what I represent, I'm one of the managers within the Scotia Securities Dealer, and that space, it involves a lot of operational, regulatory, product perspective, and also, a lot of system-oriented perspective. So it was fascinating. It was definitely an eye-opening experience, and I've enjoyed it thoroughly over the last 1.5 years. And I still intend on sticking with where I work. I thoroughly enjoyed the culture, and it's been a great experience so far.
Cool. I guess now it's my turn. I have to admit, my experience is not as interesting as all three of you, but I can still share my career path after graduation. So after I graduated 2017, I went into Citco. So it's one of the hedge fund administrative companies. So I was doing operation analysis there. So when I got in Citco, I was working with this big private equity firm in the States. And then when I entered, I believe they only have 5 funds. And then during the 5 years when I was at Citco, they grew largely in size. So when 5 years later, they turned into a 40 funds private equity firm with like 20 billion asset management. So I was mainly helping them doing their back end operation side. But after 5 years working with this one client, I think I've seen enough, and I've been stuck with this company for 5 years. So I decided to see what's out there in the market. So that's why I started looking for opportunities in Toronto, and then I landed in venture capital, which is, I didn't know this is something that I would found interesting because prior than entering to this venture capital firm, I didn't have much experience working in the investment companies, let alone this close side. So when and then this is the position that I was doing, that I'm doing here in the venture capital firm is basically everything. So I have a chance to look at the investment side. So looking at the portfolio companies that we are investing, working with charismatic entrepreneurs like San Diego. So like, I get to see on a really close point on how the company grew inside and what financial difficulties they have. So I spent a lot of time doing due diligence on their financial stability and on their exit route as well. So that's one of my responsibility. And then my second responsibility is our venture capital is still at a fundraising stage. So some of my time is spent on helping the investor relations side and doing global fundraising. So we are currently raising I think 20 million fund, mainly in North America. So I've been helping a lot with that. And on the other hand, I'm helping with some internal finance as well, doing audit, taxes, and daily operations and stuff. So I guess right now it's I like exploring different opportunities and be in a place where I can see what's out there and I can get hands-on experience on all the aspects. That's what interests me, and my life is different every day, so that's what I love the most.
Cool.
That is amazing. Thank you so much to the four of you for very eye-opening careers, and especially coming from a humble place like the Kenneth Rowe building, or prior to the Kenneth Rowe building, because you would have done your first or second years in the old building, if I'm not wrong.
Sure
Mortez
did.
Santiago. I
Yes,
also am an alumni from the program from 2006, so know the old
I
building
hear
well.
you.
Yeah. So thank you so much for your experience. I am going to try to take you back to your student days, and just going to launch a soft question for you on what was one of the biggest challenges that you faced as a student, and how did you overcome it, and how do you feel that experience kind of helped get you to where you are now? And I will open it up to Wendy because she went last, and I feel she can start us off this time.
Okay. Sure. So I guess my biggest challenge that I would say is when I first went into Dell, it was my first time leaving my home country. So I got a lot of homesick as well. And on the meantime, juggling between life and study is one of the biggest challenges that I can that I remembered. But as well, the thing that I love about my days in at Dell is because of the three co-op programs. So we, as everyone know, like we have like the three mandatory co-op programs where we have to push ourselves into the society, the community, and to see what job market is out there. So I remember like trying to locate and land in one of the co-op jobs is very challenging, but lucky enough, I secured all three of them, and then two of them is within this lovely role management building, which I miss the most right now. So I would say keep an open mind and then be very confident on what you're interested in, and then not be afraid of reaching out and then putting yourself out of your comfort zone, and then that would help the most, and then be open to anything. That um, that's what I would say that can helps my days back then.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Wendy. Sarah?
Definitely. Actually, so I would say something similar. Actually, being an international student and moving away from your family, and it's definitely a difficult, tough experience. But one of the key things that challenged me was also not only just the homesickness, but also just adapting to a new complete different environment. It need not be culture difference, but it can be a certain things, the way things are done, right? So certain social norms, social cues. So things like that, the adaptation can be a little difficult. So I mean, when in terms of how I overcame it, it was basically keeping an open mindset and working my way through these hurdles, but necessarily not saying no, but also, ensuring I'm feeling comfortable and trying to put myself outside my comfort zone when I needed to. So it was basically a mix of, saying yes to opportunities that I seem to have focused and interest in, and pushing myself beyond those boundaries to get myself outside the comfort zone, but also ensuring, it's it's things that I pursue to enjoy. So definitely keep an open mind. Definitely put yourself out there on what opportunities might come. You might never know what they might lead to. And yeah, I would say those are some of the key things that challenges I faced and how I came about. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Martez?
Yeah, so for me, it was actually I was lucky enough that I put that behind me what Sarah and Wendy went through when you started at Dal, because actually lived 2 years in the States and went to boarding school there. So I already had that experience of going away from my family and you know getting familiar also with North American culture.
Mhm.
And then I actually lived a year in Cameroon, Africa, before I actually started studying in Halifax. So for me, it was a different challenge. It was also the co-op challenge, to be honest, to find a co-op position was probably the biggest challenge, because I didn't really feel comfortable to connect to the local job market or in Toronto or wherever to find a position, and actually pulled the international student card in Germany then, and actually applied to eBay in Berlin, and got a job there, which was quite funny because I said, yeah, I study abroad, and when I was there, I was like, yeah, I'm from abroad, so. For me, of course, it was a chance to go back home for 4 months and live in Berlin. That was an amazing experience in the end. But what really helped me was very supporting faculty, like Carolyn McLaughlin and others who, was just pushing and say, just pursue your dream and just try, apply wherever, it doesn't matter where you go. And that really helped to go after that. And later on, I also worked for Apple in Munich, not in California. So I worked actually 2 times in a row for two really cool companies. And I think what's important is that you just, try to follow your dream and reach out to faculty there is that has lots of experience, and also obviously helps to give you some confidence to push the limits.
Great, thank you. Santiago?
Yeah, no, I think I'm gonna echo some of what you guys said. You know, I think the coming from Colombia to Canada was a big adjustment. I had never seen snow ever, so that was a big adjustment. But more
Freezing
so, like
cold.
it was really like one of the things I did to overcome, being homesick, and I saw this a lot in international students where they kind of gravitated to, other international students from their home country. I actually did the opposite. I just hang out with Canadians. And I was like, I'm gonna take in the culture. And I think that was one of the best decisions I made.
Yeah.
You know, it really, made me feel at home and make Canada feel like home for me. And then secondly, I will echo as well, getting my first co-op job was really hard. So getting that first one, just be very open-minded, like just kind of like figure it out, because then once you get that Canadian work experience, and you have a good referral from a manager in Canada, then getting my second and third co-op jobs were a breeze. It was just that first one was a big hurdle to overcome, but it's just about keeping an open mind, preparing well for interviews, and then making sure you give 120% in that first co-op job, and then the rest will just kind of fall into place.
Yeah, I can totally go with that. The first one was definitely the hardest.
Yeah.
From a domestic perspective, I can also add that that's true. My first employer threw my resume in the garbage, and I had followed up, and they put my resume out of the garbage to get the job. So I'm with you. I'm with you on that. First co-op is the biggest. All right. So following up on that, and it may have already been answered, but what were the resources that helped you most during your time at Dalhousie? And which resource do you wish you took more advantage of? And I'm going to start with Mortez this time. Just switching, and then we'll go to Sarif and Wendy, and then end with Santiago. Sorry.
Sure. For me, it was really the faculty. I think professors and their open mindedness, that they were always, it felt like that, at least always available, that we could talk to them, approach them, and ask them about anything, be it class, be it something else, of like co-op student. I think that was the biggest and best resource from my point of view, and the most valuable that I took also as sort of like mentors that you could always go to and ask.
Perfect. Thank you. Sarah?
Um, I would definitely say, so one of the best reasons, as Moritz has mentioned, is other professors, definitely, because they are so much full of knowledge and so much like full of experience that they can help you and assist you and guide you on any challenges that you might be facing, be that it may be an academic perspective, or if they're from an open door perspective, if they're looking at, helping out an international student, whatever it might be, right? But in terms of what resource I should have used more often would be the writing center. I do wish that I did go there more often, because I did not know the amount of resources, amount of assistance they provided to students in terms of going through your assignment, helping you guide through, all the grammatical errors, what it might be, and guiding you through, just putting it all together. So I do wish, if I had to go back, like that's one thing I would have used more often than what I did back then. But yeah, that's definitely one regret I have.
Thank you.
I guess I'm the lucky one because I have Katie as my academic advisor, and I will have to say that like being and talking to you well every semester basically, and letting you like give us advice on what courses to choose from, and then what interests you the most, and how to plan out the whole semester. I think that's definitely very helpful. And then the professors as well, they also have very deep industrial knowledge to share with you, and then to bring to connect the knowledge in the textbook along with the industry real life scenarios and cases. I think that's very helpful. And another thing that I do want to mention that is that the Dalhousie has the Investment Society Dallas. I remember I was a part of that for 2 years, and it was a very mind-blowing experience as well, where we have pitches on different cases, on different scenarios, and you actually have to get to play in Bloomberg and do your um, some real investment, I would say, and that connects you, that helps you to put what you have learned conceptually to put in the real world. So that's a part that I like as well.
Thank you.
Awesome. And I think for me, one of the most helpful things, kind of connecting it back to getting that first co-op job, was the career services, and the support that Dal gives you in finding job opportunities. So I took a lot of advantage of that, and that was one of the things that really set me up for success. I heard Moritz, Sarah, you talked a lot about getting to know faculty better. That's one piece I wish I had done better. You know, it's something I did do in my when I did my master's, but I wish I had done it in my undergrad. Is really taking advantage of professors' networks, because they can also be you know a good resource in finding a job. Like, they're very well connected in the community. They consult on the side for major corporations and whatnot. So, especially if you're able to build a good rapport with a professor in a field that you would like to pursue a career on, maybe even if they don't have the right connections to get you a job, if they serve as a reference, that'll be a distinguishing factor in landing that job. So yeah, that's one piece I wish I had explored more when I was younger and foolish, I guess.
Context, right? It's we all have hindsight now. All right, so just as we're just conscious of time, I was wondering, what's the main piece of advice that you would give to young professionals who are just starting their career search as they prepare to graduate? What kind of employment advice or pursuing career endeavors would you encourage them to take advantage of? Oh,
So
sorry.
I'm
And
happy
yeah,
to go
let's start with
first.
Santiago.
Sure. I truly believe that going to a big organization and getting some good fundamentals in your career is important. Lawrence talked about going to Apple and eBay. I'm sure you got some really good foundations. I worked at KPMG, worked at Sun Edison and Northland, phenomenal foundations. Um, but if you are more into kind of building, like, after you get those foundations, kind of move quickly and break things. Something I wish I had done earlier was moving towards smaller and faster growing organizations. It can be very fulfilling, but I do think having a solid foundation can be will be very advantageous. One, it gives you um, a good frame, good frameworks to apply in your career. But secondly, if things don't go wrong, because when you're in a small company or in a startup or something, things, you might end up looking for a job. Having good names in your resume can help you get back on your feet. But yeah.
That's great. Thank you. Let's go to Wendy.
Sure, I can start. I guess I have a very recent experience as well, because last year I was doing the same thing, trying to research for new opportunities, and especially moving into a different city. And I know operations is not one of my things, so I wanted to go to a different territory. So I have to basically start from scratch. And then what I did was I utilized LinkedIn a lot, and then I searched for a lot of the job postings, and I know that they have some sort of features on how to prepare you from writing your resume and how to prepare for interviews and stuff. They have all sorts of different resources that you can leverage. And as well, I think one of the things that I did that I do when I look back, I appreciate I done that is because after I send out, like there's this feature on LinkedIn where you can just click easy apply and then you upload your resume. If after I've done that, I will go into the company page on that LinkedIn profile and then click on the person who posted this job. So it's either their HR or the director who posted this job. So I would go send a cold message and then just introduce myself and say that I'm really interested in your position. I hope I can like leverage my background and then help in this position. And luckily, like I think we underestimate on how people can react to these cold messages, because all the messages that I sent to, I always get a response and I can always cure a interview. So I would suggest on people doing that more often, and then be confident on selling yourself out to people. And then I think that will come in handy sometimes in the future.
All right, Martez?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, I can only underline what Santiago was saying actually, because for me it was very, very helpful later on in the career to get this really solid ground, especially not just in the co-op experience, but also in the corporate world, because I really rock solid get processes in of how a corporation works, how it's structured, why it is structured that way, how leadership works. And that really helped me later on, even though at the very end of it, I didn't like corporate anymore at all. And I wish I would have moved on maybe 1 or 2 years earlier, because it was a very, very drastic change coming from, large corporation where there's always money and you can just do your thing. And then going into this, Santiago is smiling, and going into this crazy world where all of a sudden you have to worry about cash flow and saying making profits and everything else. So that's definitely a big game changer, but I can only underline that it helps to get this experience before. And coming back to finding co-op and good jobs and interviews and all that, what Wendy was saying, one thing that really helped me was actually the Dalhousie Toastmasters Club, which I was also partially president for some time and trying to push, because it really, really helped me prep for interviews. Putting you on the spot and speaking in front of audiences, etc. Also, doing all of this in English, of course, for me, not my mother tongue. So this was really a huge help to prepare for the corporate world.
Perfect, thank you. And Sarah?
I would definitely say it's one of the key things that helped me. One of the key things that I would recommend is also it's reaching back to any of your networks that you had worked your co-op opportunity throughout your last three years of your university, because there are opportunities out there within the companies or employers who you had the opportunities with. They might be able to find you and help you find an opportunity, or they might retain you back after you graduate. So always reaching back and connecting with them is a great idea and should keep that in mind. And also doing within your university itself, like to help you get that opportunity after you graduate. For example, one of the key things that helped me is the Scotiabank Your Hired interview competition, because necessarily I was not one of the finalists. I was able to set myself in mind with the interviewers, because there was an opportunity where there was an experience where I was able to converse with one of them, and they remembered me from the conversation I had with them during the interview competition. So reaching back to them definitely helps you set a stone for your graduate opportunity once you graduate. And then, similar to what Wendy had mentioned as well, cold calling is a big factor in helping you finding that opportunity for your graduate job. Because even during my first co-op, although I'm digressing a bit, during the co-op opportunity, it did help me because I was in my first co-op, even though it was the eye-opening experience, I had called 60 to 80 employers trying to find a co-op opportunity because being an international student, I was not able to find that opportunity because I did not have any Canadian experience. My resume was clean cut, fresh, not much on it to be able to, say that what I did. So being able to reach out to all these companies did open a big plethora of employers. I had gotten, I think I like 80 interviews, 80 cold calls, like 10 interviews, five job offers, and one I took. That's basically it that happened, and it was an eye-opening experience. So I would say definitely like putting yourself out there in these certain scenarios, like be that connecting with your co-op employers, cold calling, and then all the resources that the university provides within the faculty management is a great opportunity.
Thank you so much, everyone. This was very enlightening and great support for our students as they prepare for life after graduation. Shtakti?
Yes, sorry, my connection got lost there for a minute. But yes, this was really helpful. And are we at the end of our question though? No. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
finished up our questions for the time. So
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was gonna ask one more. Um, but yes, being an international student myself, I think this was very insightful for me. And I could relate to a lot of these things, being homesick and being away from family. But it's been great to have these amazing resources at DAL, the faculty, the MCS. So, yes, thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge with us. And thank you so much for making it here despite being in different time zones. Yes,
It was a pleasure.
Definitely a pleasure. Thank you so much.
It's
Bye,
for your time.
everyone.
Thank you.
thank you.
Bye, everyone.
thank you.